Rated M for mature.
Looking for a new challenge in Zombie Army 4? You're in the right place.
Shoot by zombie!
Human beings love to set goals and then complete them. It's buried somewhere within our own source code, that need to best adversity. And maybe that's why we find games so magnetic. The rules are clear, the stakes are low. You're not really going to die if you fail. And unlike real life, which tends to reward your gradual self-improvement by giving an indifferent shrug and then ramping up the difficulty, games love to reward us in clear, enjoyable ways. All of which is to say, you should try these challenges in Zombie Army 4 Dead War, particularly for the players who've shot, punched, trapped, naded and just plain ran their way through the campaign once. They offer a new way to look at each level and demand a change of approach. Oh, and if you want to keep an eye on how you're doing at each one, remember just to head into the pause menu and track the challenge for an on-screen reminder of just how good or bad you are. Also, we're about to talk about feeding zombies to a giant zombie shark, so let's just get to it, shall we?
As promised, let's start with fish food. Found during Chapter 4 of Death Canal, it asks you to kill 25 zombies by feeding them to the shark, please and thank you. This is excellent for a number of reasons. The first, obviously, is that it involves feeding zombies to a shark. No further explanation needed. But then there's the sheer catharsis of it. Death Canal is a hard sequence of chapters, and this is just a delicious way to let off steam. You're sending a load of predators who'd erstwhile been hunting you to meet their end in the jaws of an even more formidable predator, one who'd just as easily end you too if you stood close enough. You're like a convoluted Pied Piper, teasing the horde this way and that until it's within shark range, and feeding time.
Before we get on to testicles and murderous giant air circulators, let's get down to some good old-fashioned dismemberment. Chances are, your first time through Chapter 1 of Dead Ahead, you were just getting used to how things worked around undead Milan. Weird baker with a missing head here, zombie in quarantine there. Head back for the challenge though, and nailing it is the relatively easy but absurdly satisfying case of dismembering 20 enemies. Instead of aiming for rotting noggins, drop your scope down a few, feet and start aiming for those patellas. No fun dancing without those, eh? And don't worry about running out of zombs once you've taken out the first horde. This caged chap who really wants ham can be disengaged from his lower limbs, and all of the shufflers on the radio tower and in the rail yard below are ready and waiting to say goodbye to their toes. And, everything else, really.
Lifesaver, I thank you.
Here's one from the beginning of Meat Locker when the gang's still tracking down the illustrious Dr. Schweiger. Excess delivery is earned by getting 30 kills while you're carrying the hydraulic can, and that sounds like a nice easy one to do while you're just going about the main objective and perhaps whistling a jolly tune, doesn't it? Well, it's true that this is one of the easier challenges in the game, but you're not going to pop this by accident. You have to want it. Firstly, you're limited to your pistol when you carry big objects like hydraulic cans, and secondly, you probably haven't upgraded your pistol much because who on earth would do that? Time to take a lot of very precise headshots and circle back to pistol refill crates numerous times. Voila.
Maybe next time.
It's time to answer all those questions about zombie anatomy that it's never really felt like the best kind of day to ask. Yep, load up Hellbase Chapter 4, Steal the Relic, and prepare to aim below the waistline for the Ball Breaker Challenge and 10 testicle shot kills. Now, it's important to note that these don't all have to be X-ray kill cams to count, as satisfying as they are. You just need to murder 10 undead by bursting their rotting genitalia. The very first part of the level is a little chaotic with all those snipers. So the best idea is not to think about the challenge initially, and you can always use this rift to send out some shufflers without any snipers getting in your way. Do mind the suiciders, but this at least lets you get some distance before casually, well, popping off a few shots. Then it's time to just head up onto the roof for a few more. Keep your distance once the attack starts and keep aiming low as the shamblers approach. It's also worth saying that you don't need to jump into the portal as soon as it's ready. Just keep your shots below the belt, scuttle away from the deadly horde, and only depart once you've nailed the challenge. Phew.
I was born for this.
Some challenges are about performing the same feat a number of times under changing conditions. Others, like I Made This from Meat Locker's Chapter 3, are about doing lots of things very quickly and swearing almost constantly while you do them. To make this mini speedrun challenge pop, you'll need to complete the construction of the arcane warhead in less than 12 minutes. Now, this is doable, but there's really no time for messing about, especially considering you have to stand and wait for the charge to build up several times, so you're basically sprinting everywhere and being very efficient with your shots. Also, don't get lost at the start like I did. Yes, that is why you're seeing it from the 3-minute mark onwards, and yes, that did make it harder. And all the sweeter, frankly.
Man, who knew making a bomb was so damn complicated?
After that speedrun, it's time for a nice easy one that's all about letting your foes get within sniffing distance of your tasty brains and then immediately denying them lunch. Given the fact that we're constantly drowning in bullets, we often forget that a good old-fashioned punch is all it takes to down some zombs. Helpfully, the KERPLUNK challenge in Molten Nightmare Chapter 3 is here to remind you. It might not inspire you to hunt down the marble game of the same name, but all you need to do is melee murder 10 enemies in the blood fountain immediately after you get out of the safe room in Night on the Town. Your uber-powered special ability doesn't count. Let's face it, this is basically cheating. So keep out of reach of those grabby arms and scuttle around within the red circle to quickly snare your victory.
Guess I'm on a roll.
You'll find a few challenges like the 7th entry on our list, ones that get you to kill a certain number of zombies in a certain way, but wrecking 30 reanimated Hitler-worshipping corpses with a Panzerschreck rocket launcher is surely the most satisfying, isn't it? Here in Chapter 4 of Zombie Zoo, there's little room for manoeuvre, so just like the fish food challenge, you have to herd the undead into neat little clusters and then fire for optimal AoE damage before your ammo runs dry. This one might actually be easier to attempt solo on 4-player difficulty mode, with more enemies to hit and no one else to thin the crowd with pointless rifle kills.
I'm just getting started.
Now for something properly gory. The kind of Evil Dead splatter that we all secretly aspire to when it comes to disposing of Hitler's decomposing army. For the messy challenge, we're heading to Hellbase Chapter 2, better known as War Machine, to kill 40 zombies with fan traps. Once you've disposed of the first horde, accompanying Butcher and then Creepers, you'll come to your first fan. While there are a few more spinning murder fests further on in the level, you can get all 40 out of the way here without too much trouble and plenty of arterial spray. Now, it's important to remember that you can be sucked in here too when it's at full speed. So shoot the targets, do some crowd control, and only run across to the other side when it's spinning down. Wait until the targets glow green again, and the party can start all over again. If you run out of zombies, you can always carry on a bit and lure the creepers from the next section back to your spinning death party. Ta-da! How does that Kylie song go again?
Not bad for a dead fella, eh?
There's room for exactly 4 snipers in Zombie Army 4. You, 3 co-op pals, and that is strictly it. So when these absolute burks with the ability to fly as well as snipe show up, it's a real affront to the rules of the game. Don't you get it, mate? We do the long shots round here. You walk slowly towards us, bobbing your head this way and that. At a pinch you're allowed to run, but even then only when you're carrying a bomb. Killing 2 snipers in mid-air during Molten Nightmare's 2nd chapter, hot on the tail, is an especially satisfying one then. Not only is it a real test of your marksmanship, zombie snipers don't really hang about when they take flight, it's also a great way to put the hovering little idiots in their place. Just take your shot as they begin to ascend and you'll pop it before too long.
Lucky shot.
And finally, a challenge that's not quite building the Louvre with only dismembered zombie legs, but something just as satisfying, if not as artistic. The BUCKSHOT Frenzy Challenge in Zombie Zoo's 2nd chapter, Welcome to the Jungle, is as crunchy and up close and personal as eating a peanut butter sandwich a centimetre away from someone's face. All you have to do here is get 10 double kills, or indeed better, with your shotgun. So get into the giant greenhouse area and start dancing around the oncoming horde until they're that little bit too close to each other. It's like ballet, but with the undead. Lake, anyone? If you run out of zombies, the next wave of creepers are more than happy to pile on top of one another as they attack, making it nice and easy to dispose of more than one at a time. Oh, and stay away from the heavy gunner. He really gets in the way of your dancing.
That's it.
So that's 10 challenges you absolutely need to try in Zombie Army 4 Dead War. Let us know your gory favourites in the comments below and let us know which ones have evaded your grasp. Aim at those like and subscribe buttons if you enjoyed the video and hit the notification bell to know when our next video staggers into view. Until next time.